Today we are doing the Medicine Buddha Puja chanting. So when we are doing the Medicine Buddha Puja or offering service or offering ritual, this is an effort from both sides. So sometimes when we see these types of things, we think it's like there's a person sitting in the middle or sitting in the front that's like doing the ceremony and everyone else is watching or supporting. But actually, it's an equal process. We're all together making offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that are ritually invited, um, just having different roles. We brought this up before with like animal liberation practices as well, or making Sangha offerings, that someone can be a representative of a group, kind of maybe doing the motions, but they're chosen by the group in order to do that. And so on behalf of everyone, they're doing this action. So it's as if everyone is doing it together. Everyone shares in the merit and the benefit equally, whether or not where they're standing or what they're doing. Same with when you make a contribution, like for the donations for the animal liberation, even if you're not physically there, because you give $1, you gain in the merit of everyone else who made a contribution as well. This is brought up many times in Buddhist contexts, that this is the kind of how do you say, process of collective or group karma making, for better or worse, right? We can use the example too of if you have a political leader that then commands, like a general or something, they command an army or they command people to go out and kill, right? And then those people kill, even though they themselves, excuse me, didn't do the actual act. They bear the karmic consequence of every single person that died, as well as each of the people themselves in the middle of that process that did the physical killing. This is repeated again and again for precepts as well. A similar, process of not killing yourself or inciting others or hinting or using backhanded ways, thinking that through doing this will avoid the responsibility or the karmic consequence. But the same can be said of creating positive or wholesome karma. So if we create karma in sneaky ways, wholesome karma in sneaky ways, or secret acts of kindness or generosity, we still have that affect the karmic consequence, or we bear the results one day. And also with this, it's the person kind of facilitating or leading this ceremony, they've done some training or some practice to be able to do this in a way that can be like beautiful and generous towards the participants and create a sacred space or a respectful space, have a solemn feeling. All these are done in order to support the participants or people that come. So this is also an act of generosity. I think this is maybe important for folks coming from religious backgrounds where like there's like a priest or a religious leader that is seen as an intermediary between the divine and then like ordinary people. We don't quite have that happening. It's not that the monastic or priest in the Buddhist context is like a middle person between the Buddha and you, between the enlightened and the unenlightened. And somehow this person is spiritually elevated. It's more that this person has the methods and practices and the context to create that space and that dynamic and introduce us so that we can develop our own relationship with Buddha or Bodhisattva as well and become closer to it. So I just like to point that out. It's a little bit more lateral and less vertical, but sometimes it can seem very Buddha is far away, and the person in front of the Buddha is the one that is mediating. If you could just turn off your microphone, That would be great.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
no problem. And then the other part that's happening is the person that's doing the puja, performing the puja, the offering ceremony, they're going through different visualizations and meditation as well. So the chanting of the people attending and their sincere efforts support that process. Likewise, the person performing the puja is offering different substances and different mudras and mantras to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas on behalf of the people that are there. So there's like a mutual blessing that's happening, let's say. Uh, Also, you can do this chanting on your own, just as the document, the medicine Buddha puja chanting. Or you can do it when there's a more formal puja being performed. It's fine either way. If you want to do it as a kind of personal practice or daily practice, it's okay. And there's a couple of mantras inside. And you'll see too that it follows this very similar format to the other types of daily chanting one might do that is based around a sutra. This one is based around particular Buddha. So we do use the sutra related. And then when we talk about medicine Buddha, very popular across many traditions. Um, we see medicine Buddha in the Tibetan tradition, big place in the Chinese tradition, and the Japanese tradition, in Vietnam. Medicine Buddha forms a triad. There's Shakyamuni Buddha, often seen in the center, and then Amitabha Buddha typically to his left, and Medicine Buddha to his right, I believe. You might see other arrangements. Sometimes these are called the three like pure ones or three holy ones, but also that can mean Amitabha Buddha and the two Bodhisattva attendants. These are called the Buddhas of the three times. So the Buddhas of the past being Shakyamuni, and Buddha of the present being Medicine Buddha, and the Buddha of the future being Amitabha Buddha. But these are like three times in relationship to us, right? So currently we're relying on Medicine Buddha, but the Buddha that was in our world historically was Shakyamuni Buddha, and when we pass away, we will go to the Pure Land to meet Amitabha Buddha. And so many like temples in Taiwan, for example, will have these three Buddhas together. And people that are not familiar with this might ask, why are there three Buddhas? I thought there can only be one Buddha. But we're kind of talking about three primary needs in our life. So one is the teacher and respect for the tradition through Shakyamuni Buddha, and then addressing this life needs and problems through Medicine Buddha, and end of life, death, and rebirth with Amitabha Buddha. And there's a number of stories you'll hear, like folk stories about miracles or healing that has been done through Medicine Buddha practice. Those are all very interesting. You can dig them up and find them. I'd like to point out that sometimes people come to Medicine Buddha often because they're sick, and they're looking for, excuse me, they're looking for a cure. I'm sick as well. I've been sick now twice in 2 months. They're looking for a cure or a solution to some sort of suffering or health or physical difficulty. And maybe they've ran out of options and resources in other ways, and they can maybe feel a little hopeless. Or they're trying to improve a situation, and kind of increase their chances through an additional means. So this is sometimes the first hook for people to approach or meet Medicine Buddha or have an interest. And sometimes it can also be like for emotional or mental healing as well. So people are experiencing some sort of internal suffering or anxiety or stress, and they're looking for something to rely on. I think this is a very interesting way to approach Buddhas. It's very literal to what we say the Medicine Buddha does. My word of caution, though, is that sometimes people have a kind of wrong expectations or inappropriate expectations. And then through that, they can get disappointed and feel that the practice is not effective because they thought if I chant this mantra 108 times a day, then according to the text, I should be healed. Why am I not healed? And so it needs to go a little further than that. And this is why it's so important to have someone around to teach or speak on the topic and guide it and create the broader and deeper understanding. So it's not just approached as a quick fix kind of magical, even if it's extremely well intentioned and sincere. But if the expectation is not right, it can disappoint. So we need someone around to share the meaning behind this. Likewise, when you go to a temple, and they say, oh, you can pray to this Buddha or Bodhisattva for this or that, that's great. That's like the first step, is kind of going to ask for something and being in a place of need. The second step that should follow up is the part that's the education, and why we focus here so much on understanding why and how and the ways to apply the Dharma or teaching of a text or a Buddha or a Bodhisattva or a technique, right? We have to understand what it's for and how to do it, not just doing it purely in this kind of magical wishing, magical thinking way. Even ULA, this will be brought up, a parrot can say Amitofo, a machine can say Amitofo. That doesn't mean you're going to go to the Pure Land. You have to have an aspiration and a deep transformation as well. So that's one of my worries, and you see this sometimes on, online on like Reddit or other forums where people will share about doing a practice and then not having the results, and saying, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas lie, or Buddhism, is false because it makes all these claims. But as I pointed out, when we see these texts, they don't say when these things will happen either, right? It's not that you say the mantra and then a light shines on your head, and Medicine Buddha will clear you of all illness. It just says that there won't be, and sometimes this is related to the fact that you'll go to the Pure Land. So you're not going to experience this in the future because you're ending the causes for this experience, but you still have to undergo the karmic results that are happening. Another way you could look at it is if you're born with a certain body, right? This is a kind of fixed karma that you cannot undo. Like I had many ear infections as a child, so I lost hearing in one ear, so I'm deaf in one ear. I can't bring that back. The physical structure is changed, or if I got in an accident and I lose a limb, uh, there's a certain limit to technology, right? I can't regrow one yet. Maybe technology will change, at which case we could say our karma has changed. But currently, that's the situation. So this type of karma can't just be undone, but we can take steps to have different karma in our next life, right? And not experience these things by eliminating or pushing away these kinds of causes. And to always remember that karma is a very complicated thing, and the Buddha said if we dwell on it too long, we can kind of go mad from it because it's just endless. So we should just understand the general principles and approach. The other thing that when we're looking at Medicine Buddha, people will often fixate on the physical aspect or the immediate result that they're looking for. But when we talk about the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the three jewels, the three refuges, there's another analogy that the Buddha is like the doctor, and the Dharma is like the medicine, and the Sangha is like the nurse, right? So the Buddha, as physician, is able to assess or diagnose and prescribe, and that prescription is the Dharma teaching that transforms us. And the disease is the ignorance, and from that ignorance, anger and hatred and pride and arrogance and greed and attachment and all these other kinds of afflictive emotions, as well as different kinds of cognitive obscurations. And so the various Dharma teachings, the 84,000 teachings or Dharma doors, are like 84,000 types of medicine. And then the Sangha or the nurse are the ones that, bring it to us and kind of remind us basically to take the medicine. And they keep an eye on us and attend to us and support us and encourage us. But we still have to take the medicine ourselves, right? You can have many nurses around, and even if they're holding you down, uh, you can fight them and close your mouth and not take the medicine. So that's not really an effective use of anyone's time. So it's really up to us to take it, and then we can have our friends, our spiritual friends and supporters, remind us and encourage us, right? And say, oh, this medicine is very good. It's very beneficial. Did you take it today? Did you forget to take it today? What do you do when you forget to take it? Are you having a side effect? They can kind of help us assess um, the more practical aspect. So the Buddha, the enlightened mind in this aspect of physician or one that diagnoses is the medicine Buddha. So ultimately, the medicine Buddha practice is coming back to this ignorance of the nature of reality and the nature of self. And from that, the various kinds of afflictions. So this is the true healing, this healing of countless rebirth, uncontrolled karmic habits and afflictions that we're overridden by. And then for Tendai as well, in Rakuji, the main temple, the temple that was built by Saicho, or established, in Kyoto prior to the capital moving, um, the main icon, the main image, the principal deity is a standing medicine Buddha. Um, and he pointed this out or used this particular icon to show that this is the Buddha meeting us in this world now, right? Sometimes people approach Buddhism and it seems really transcendental and distant and far away from where they are and what they need, or even Pure Land Buddhism. Some, denominations or places might present Amitabha Buddha in this way that's like not relevant to your life now, but will be when you die. And so you should just focus on this very distant future that's kind of fuzzy. While the medicine Buddha is much more related to our needs now, when we talk about poverty or lack of resources or kind of unharmonious social situations or being trapped and not having any kind of social exit or physical exit. We can talk about this as like literal imprisonment. You can talk about it as bad actors, in your social circles, or having jealousy or enemies around you, people that create obstacles to your good work or your study or your practice. Um, it can even be things like meeting, not great doctors that give you wrong medical advice, for example. There's so many aspects of the medicine Buddha that are addressed that are very much this world, this life, this need. Um, Rather than this kind of sometimes distant feeling that we can have with Pure Land or with enlightenment as a long-term goal. So very relatable. Many people can find a connection to medicine Buddha, and from that enter into connecting with many other teachings and Dharma and Buddhas. And I think that's the main point: is that people approach a Buddha or Bodhisattva often out of a need, and then from that it should expand further into other aspects of their life. But we do have to address people's immediate issues. It's a privilege to be able to study the Dharma. It's a privilege to have time to read texts and do these kinds of practices. This is not something that everyone can do if they have illness or they have external obstacles or they don't have the health, right? They don't have the food or the housing to be able to do so successfully. So when we talk about medicine Buddha as a Buddha that helps success, a lot of this is about resources and people and environments and circumstances and very external. uh, as much as it is, removing the internal obstacles to our own development or progress. So very important, Buddha, something that I think we all can benefit from and be familiar with and engage. Any questions or comments so far? Or if you've heard other things, about Medicine Buddha, you're free to share. Otherwise, I'll go on to the next part.
One question, slightly unrelated, just to make sure that I know that there's a point in this text where you ring a bell and then I'm going to pick up with the mantras. I just want to make sure that I'm going at the right pace. And that's at the four resolutions, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that when we're going to go through the text. But right now we're just kind of
Oh,
talking about
okay,
what Medicine Buddha is.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if we were like going through it to teach or if we're going through it to practice. So that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, just giving context on who Medicine Buddha is at the beginning. Um, So okay, there's also another tradition you'll hear of the Medicine Buddha and like seven brothers, or you'll get like a set of eight Buddhas. So Shakyamuni Buddha being the eighth one. So these seven healing brothers or Buddhas. This comes from another Medicine Buddha text that is more or less popular in different traditions, but worth reading and understanding. Um, and this very much covers a lot of the similar sphere of influence of Medicine Buddha. Each of the I can dig up the list somewhere, but each of the seven healing Buddhas has a particular kind of karma they purify or area of life that they're related to. But in general, whether it's a single Medicine Buddha or the seven or eight, a lot of them deal with the healing illness, of course, the external resources and protection, not just personal protection, but like national protection, as well as national healing. So dealing with like epidemics and plagues and any kinds of natural disasters or calamities. So you could see how for a community, the Medicine Buddha is very important as well. There's this collective orientation that is very much resonates when you are looking to have like a state religion, right? You have a really good angle for everyone is if we engage in this practice, not only individually but as a nation, we can be safe and prosperous, right? And there's many other texts and practices and sadhanas that come out of Medicine Buddha. Um, Again, in Tibetan tradition has so many. Tendai and Shingon, Chinese traditions have many as well. And you'll see another name of Medicine Buddha being like the disaster eradicating Medicine Buddha or calamity averting, depending how you want to translate. So that this Medicine Buddha uh, repels or clears away the karma for these kinds of events. So there's this strong purification element as well as the nourishing element. Yes, question.
Uh, y- yeah, speaking on the oops, sorry, on the various forms of medicine Buddha, does medicine Buddha have a wrathful manifestation or form?
Good question. Is there not that I know of offhand? No, not, and I've never thought about that. But there is Mahamayuri, the peacock queen, the Vidyarajani. She is often connected to Medicine Buddha. One of the mantras in that practice is the same one as a Medicine Buddha mantra. Um, so it could be said that this is the more active. I wouldn't say wrathful, but maybe more direct acting aspect of Medicine Buddha.
That makes sense. I can see the correlation there. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, but you don't. I don't think you see the same like that same scheme like where you have Avalokiteshvara and then like angry Avalokiteshvara,
Yeah.
as Hayagriva. But let me check. I'll check with Venerable Huishuan if there is a particular one that's strongly associated. um, But what you do see with Medicine Buddha is the 12 yaksha generals, and they're kind of angry looking. And they do serve that function, that they're the protective aspect or the active aspect. And so each of the yaksha generals are said to have, five or seven or something, thousands of yakshas under each of them. So each one has like a whole horde of yakshas. And yakshas are sometimes the animal realm, sometimes deva realm. I think it depends. They're seen as like nature spirits, um, that are more or less morally neutral, as far as I understand, with some of them being more virtuous, like these heavenly generals. So they work in the deva realm, or they work in a kind of celestial sphere, versus the yakshas that are like causing problems and illnesses and hurting people. They might be more close to like uninhabited wild places, or dangerous places. And then like the demon mother Hariti, she is a yaksha, yakshini. Um, and I think in her story, she was like a protector yaksha of a town or a city, like a wealthy city, and then makes a vow, a bad vow, and then comes back as this like vengeful demoness, like a yakshini, as again, but just like in a slightly different, like a more angry, grotesque form, or evil-hearted form. And then it also changes again. So I think there's this fluidity to them as being both wild but also noble, um, depending how they go in their orientation. But anyway, their function in the Medicine Buddha grouping, I think, is this action that you're talking about. You know, and there's 12 of them, 12 yakshas. I say one is for each of the vows of the Medicine Buddha, is one, I think, through the numbers. The numbering is just the 12 vows of Medicine Buddha. Um,
I see.
yeah,
My
and
my follow up to that was
yeah.
uh correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also a connection with Samantabhadra and Medicine Buddha too, right?
Mm, mm. I'm not aware, but maybe if you know, you can expand on it.
Uh, no, I don't have the,
Okay.
I don't have the details on that. I
Yeah.
just was a passing curiosity that I
Mm,
think I've heard before, and I
yeah.
wasn't sure if you had a familiarity with that.
Mm,
So,
not like an explicit one. I think, like Samantabhadra is often treated like standalone or within a mandala or within connection to other Buddhas. But also Samantabhadra has that universal aspect, right? Of the moving towards the enlightened mind and doing all the deeds and actions and all the wholesome qualities or virtues. So yeah, sometimes a bodhisattva or a particular Buddha might be really specific, but might also, we can reference them or talk about them in their universal aspect, like how Avalokiteshvara is Avalokiteshvara, but also we can talk about Avalokiteshvara being the embodiment of all of the Buddha's compassion, right? Or Manjushri being all the Buddha's wisdom, right? Like kind of like you're highlighting an aspect.
or like Amitabha's connection with like Mahavajrayana.
Right, yeah, as like a particular aspect of that, right?
Okay,
Yeah, so there's like
okay.
different lenses we can use to look at a Buddha or Bodhisattva, if it's more like a unique and individual or more as like a universal expression of, like you said, like Mahavajrayana or the enlightened mind or the Dharmakaya. Right. And this is brought up that like within the mandala, we know we have Mahavajrayana in in the middle as the embodiment or symbol of the Dharmakaya. But from that is arising all these faces, right? All these different forms that are different aspects of this, unique expressions. But they're all leading back to that same uh, truth, right? This ultimate reality. It's not that
Mm.
Mahavajrayana is like a God, God up there, like as one individual, but is the personification of the Dharmakaya.
Okay, okay.
Right. Yeah. It's a way that we can relate, because otherwise Dharmakaya is just like this. super abstract, haze, cosmic haze,
Yeah,
yeah.
a fill in for like panpsychism or like monism in some aspect for people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could go that way, right? It's just so we see Mahavirachana then as this principle, right? But it's given a form so that we can relate. It's easier for us to relate to something that kind of looks like us. Um, so um, the 12 Yaksha generals. We have time. The 12 Yaksha generals. Each one relates to a 2 hour period as well. And we can also say they relate to the 12 astrological signs in the East Asian system. So the 12 animals. And they all have animal heads as well. Um, so there's a lot to be said about this. We start getting into some of the astrological, like, astrology connections. There's also the Medicine Buddha has two attendants, I think Surya Prabha and Chandra Prabha. So sunlight, sunlight or sun illuminating bodhisattva and moonlight, moon illuminating bodhisattva. You can say these are the 12 hours each, right? So one is daytime and one is nighttime. So we can see it as Medicine Buddha as the doctor, and then there's like, two head nurses, and then each of the head nurses has various attendants under them that are helping you. And like, where the like guards in the hospital are the yakshas, right? And the leading nurses are the two bodhisattvas. So they're kind of creating this healing environment and protecting one from any external issues while the medicine does the internal work. Uh, and the other one, some of the mantras that we'll have, I think we'll just start going through the text because it will show up. And I want to make sure we have time. I'm going to kind of skip through the first parts because they're standard and we've gone through them elsewhere. But the bowing, we've shifted to be specifically about the medicine Buddha. So when we are doing bowing, we can think then of the medicine Buddha and the Bodhisattvas and the 12 Yaksha generals as being the embodiment of the triple gem. So keep that in mind. They're not separate or distinct from, they're just one particular manifestation of the triple gem. Um, and then we have the part of the Sutra of Medicine Buddha, the 12 vows. And we start with the name, right? So here we're using the land of pure crystal radiance. Sometimes this is translated as lapis lazuli, but there's a debate that this is probably beryl, which is a more clear greenish blue crystal rather than the opaque blue and gold of lapis lazuli. In the East Asian traditions, medicine Buddha is not really shown as that dark blue that you see in the Tibetan tradition. Um, there's a blue light or like a kind of blue-green light associated with medicine Buddha, but not his body. His body can come in some different colors, often gold, or you'll see like natural statue or stone color. And then we have all the kind of standard epithets of a Buddha, so that we know this is a Buddha, fully awakened, perfect in all wisdom, merit, and skillful means, just like Shakyamuni Buddha. And then it's being addressed to Manjushri Bodhisattva. So Manjushri Bodhisattva has a connection to Medicine Buddha as well because of this dialogue. So when we read a sutra about a Buddha or Bodhisattva, sometimes it's not in direct discussion with that particular deity or emanation or awakened mind, but to another Buddha or Bodhisattva about that one. So there's a link, here. And so Manjushri is the important link for Medicine Buddha. And we can see there's this aspect of wisdom, when Manjushri is showing up, right? And these 12 vows, we might have to do another session to go through them. But I will say the 12 vows, you can look at it and read it as if this is about the medicine Buddha when he was a bodhisattva, becoming a Buddha. And this has nothing to do with me, but it's something I'm just kind of reciting to feel the awe and impressiveness of medicine Buddha. That is one way, and that's very valid. Another way that we can look at it is these are vows that we're making, right, when we are reciting them. These are things that we also want to do in order to become like medicine Buddha. This was his path and his the way he progressed to being capable of helping sentient beings and the way that he helps them and why we're going to him, right? We want to deal with these things in our life, and now he's laying out, through these vows, the way to address these issues that we're coming with. So I always take it that when you read a sutra or a text, it's about you and it's advice to you, and it's a method and a practice for you in your life right now. It's not something somewhere else some other time, right? Find a way to relate it to your own cultivation and your own day-to-day activities. Even if it seems very cosmic and out there is a way to scale it down and see, like, how can I see, how can I imagine this faraway result? What are the steps to get there, right? What are the ways I can enact this? And the very first one I'll use as an example. So I vow that in a future life, when I attain supreme perfect enlightenment, brilliant rays will shine forth from my body, illuminating infinite, countless, boundless realms. The body will be adorned with the 32 marks of greatness and 80 auspicious characteristics. Furthermore, I will enable all sentient beings to become just like me, right? Um, so this seems magical, right? I'm going to shine light out of my body and have the 32 marks of a Buddha and 80 characteristics, and I can help others do just that. So when we see light show up, this means wisdom, um, meaning in the future, I will be able to shine my wisdom to all beings and all places universally. So wherever we are, whoever we meet, we're able to meet them as they are and benefit them in a way that's suitable to them using wisdom. And through using that wisdom and developing qualities in ourselves, different kinds of virtuous deeds and activities, practicing generosity, practicing patience, right? Helping people with different virtuous projects themselves, um, showing sympathy with others and being in their difficult times, helping them overcome obstacles, guiding them, right? All of these will contribute to us having the 32 marks of greatness and 80 auspicious characteristics. And then furthermore, I will enable all sentient beings to become just like me, right? Meaning not only do I get to that state, do I do that thing, but I try to inspire and encourage and guide others to do that as well, right? So this kind of motivation we can draw just from this first vow. Otherwise, when we recite it, this sounds like it's about some, magical guy somewhere else, right? I mean, yeah, like I said, if that's motivating you, that is fine. But I also feel, we can go a little bit more deeper than that and make this tangible, part of our life. So. So I encourage you as homework to go through the 12 vows and think about how each of them might relate to your own life in a way that you could apply it in a practical way to guide you, through your day or your week or your month or your years. And then you can become like Medicine Buddha. And so for the puja chanting that we'll do, a couple times a month, everyone will go through this, the Heart Sutra as well. Um, and so all this begins um, uh, early on, right after the three bows. The person facilitating will start doing, moving things around and doing various actions. And then everyone can start with the ceremony. Going through the Heart Sutra. So the 12 vows, the Heart Sutra, and then the recitation of the names. So these names are the ones that are important from the sutra. But we start with Mahavajrayana as this Dharmakaya, right? The um, embodiment of universal enlightenment. And then we have the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, and also as Lotus Sutra practitioners, we can say this is the eternal Buddha, meaning Mahavajrayana and the eternal Shakyamuni Buddha are identical. They're one and the same. Just Shakyamuni Buddha is the Nirmanakaya, a expression, right, in this world. So for Tendai viewpoint, these are equal two faces of the same like being, right? Same in awakened, enlightened mind. For Shingon, there's a hierarchy where it's Mahavajrayana, and then Shakyamuni Buddha is an emanation. This is one of the distinctions. So depending what your doctrinal framework is, you can see it that way. And then the medicine Buddha follows, and the two bodhisattvas and 12 great yaksha generals. So we're kind of moving from the most broad universal aspect to the most specific. Again, with the 12 yaksha generals being the day-to-day activity or like employees, of the medicine Buddha. And then this praise of the principal deity, this is helping us establish a visualization. So I take refuge in the realm of the full moon, the pure, wondrous, lapis lazuli honored one. I need to edit that back. With the Dharma medicine, he saves humans and devas. In the causal stage, he made 12 vows. So as a bodhisattva, right, prior to becoming fully enlightened. And so now we want to build up our visualization, and then we recite this mantra, the Namaku Bhagyabate Biseja Kurobe Joria Haraba Arajaya Tathagyataya Arakate Samyak Sambodaya Tanyata Om Biseze Biseze Biseja Sambodhigate Soaka. So this is the heart mantra, the Om Biseze Biseze Biseja, and then the epithets before. And if you know the muja and you know that what the 5 places are, you can do that. If you don't, then don't. After that is the 4 great resolutions of bodhisattvas. So these are the 4 broad vows, which we've also said are like the 3 universal, the 3 teachings universal to all Buddhas, which is to, they're related. But beings are numberless, I resolve to save them all. Sufferings are endless, I resolve to overcome them all. The dharmas are countless, I resolve to master them all. The Buddha's infinite way is infinite, I resolve to accomplish it. And the 3 pure precepts of putting down evil, cultivating all good, benefiting all beings, and becoming a Buddha. So the benefiting all beings is the dharmas are countless, I resolve to master them all. So one becomes skillful and accomplished as a leader, right? So when the sufferings are endless, I resolve to overcome them all as the application of good deeds. The beings are numberless, I resolve to save them all as you save them through ending evil or misdeeds within yourself. After that is the mantra of the deity. So Jiawen, your question, when you start, during the puja, the bell will be picked up, like the ganta, the Vajra bell, right, will be picked up, and there'll be a slow ringing multiple times. So at that point, you can start doing the mantra of the main mantra, and it might be 108. It might not be 108. Oh no, actually, in this you should do 108. It might end before you finish everything. I think that's what happened last time. So just continue. So the first slow ringing of the bell, at that point, approximately, you should start the mantra. If you're still reciting other things, that's fine. And if you finish reciting the other things, you can just wait and then start reciting the mantra when the slow bell begins. And similarly, continue reciting the rest of the text if you haven't finished it, the mantras, if I've rung the bell a second time a while later. I tend to listen and try to time myself so that after you've switched mantras, then I will switch what I'm doing so that we can end together at a kind of closer period. So I am paying attention so that the timing matches up a little bit.
Once I get to the mantra of the principal deity, I can go ahead and turn my mic on at that point.
Yes, yeah, because
Okay.
then
All right.
everyone should just follow you through the rest of it.
Okay. Perfect.
Because you'll be keeping count, and other people may not necessarily be. And so the mantra, if you want to repeat after me, you can have your mic on or off, but it's on.
On.
Biseze,
Piseze.
Biseze,
Biseze.
Biseja,
Biseja.
Sanbori,
Sanbori.
Gyate,
Gyate.
Soaka.
Soaka.
On,
On.
Biseze,
Biseze.
Biseze,
Biseze.
Biseja,
Biseja.
Sanbori Gyate,
Sanbori Gate.
Soaka.
Soaka.
On,
On.
Biseze,
Biseze.
Biseze,
Biseze.
Biseja,
Biseja.
Sanbori Gyate,
Sanbori Gate.
Soaka.
Soaka.
So this is the short part of the mantra in the Japanese pronunciation from the Medicine Buddha Sutra. Um, you're probably
It's almost
familiar.
identical to the Sanskrit.
Yeah, you're familiar with it with the
Yeah.
Tibetan or Sanskrit. So this is the common one that you'll come across. If you prefer to chant the other one on your own, have at it.
Okay.
But for this, we'll be using the Japanese pronunciation. But you can do the Sanskrit or Tibetan, whatever you're most comfortable and familiar with. They're all good. And they come from different lines of practitioners, but the spirit and the heart and the intention is all basically the same. Uh, we have the blessing, even if the pronunciation is different, we have the blessing of all the practitioners before us who have carried it like a wave, through time from person to person. So um,
The
they're
transition's there and alive.
right, yeah. So they're um, anytime you can go to an empowerment or an initiation for Medicine Buddha, it's a good thing to do. It's no problem. Usually the Medicine Buddha for the Tibetan tradition, I think most of them are considered quote lower tantras. So there's usually not heavy specific commitments like retreat commitments or anything, depending on the teacher. And it would just be like a bodhisattva vows that you already have. So excuse me. The next one, this is another heart mantra of the deity. It's used quite often. This is the one that shows up in the Mahamayuri, the Peacock Queen. Um, there's some different functions to it. The first one's more like the healing or invocation of the Medicine Buddha, and the second one is more like the protective aspect or turning away, or like kind of more transforming a condition. This is the one that I want to talk about. That's a little different because the Sanskrit has like a I don't know how you say it, it's not questionable, but there are some different connections that we see outside of Medicine Buddha happening. Uh, forgot the exact Sanskrit. Chale, or and we can find it. I'll find it later. But koro koro means like to turn or heal. Sandari, Chandala, Matangi. So meaning like to turn or heal the outcast, Matangi, and Matangi being the name. Uh, and then Soaka, is may it be accomplished, or thus it is, right? Just like this, kind of like sealing the intention here.
Soha or Swaha.
Right, right. So it's like the like may this be finalized. Um, so in this story, she shows up in the Shurangama Sutra. So there's a link there. In that sutra, Ananda is like wandering about, and this girl Matangi, her mom, practices like non-Buddhist kind of mantras and spells and things, and is like, I'm gonna get my daughter this like hot monk as her husband. Um, so she like casts spells, and somehow, Ananda is entranced, and gets close to Matangi. And I think in it, the Buddha like sees this. He has this ability, right? This like kind of psychic ability. Um, and then, gives his mantra, like gives a Shurangama mantra, and there's a whole teaching then that comes out in the Shurangama Sutra about dealing with afflictive mental states, these demon states, and the mantra itself, and teachings on emptiness, and in particular about renunciation and desire, right, as being a root. And I think too with Ananda, we're seeing that he was a great practitioner, so how could he be like seduced, magically, right? Um, it's pointing out a bit that it doesn't matter like how much you've studied or heard or practiced, right? There's still a point where we kind of have to look at other aspects within ourselves that are maybe not as intellectual, right? But more on the emotional or deep instinctual way, right? So this incident opens up this whole teaching around this desire and emptiness and practice. Um, One second, I have to cough. um, and two, the second part with the Matangi, there is a goddess called the outcast Matangi that is related to epidemics and illnesses. Um, I think in her story you can find, but she lives like out in the outer areas of villages, and is this like pestilence or like like not filth, like dirt and impure things related goddess that was worshipped. And when we see some religions and some traditions, sometimes when there's like an unhealthy or a dangerous or wild or toxic kind of energy or environment or dynamic or aspect of life, if we elevate them and treat them in a very respectful way, it's like a way to appease that and settle it, and in a way turn it to be an ally instead of being something that's to harm us. So my understanding with this particular goddess is like this, that she is the embodiment of these very dangerous forces, but we want to have a respectful relationship to them. So, it's embodied as this goddess that's respected. I think there's a whole another layer too of like what maybe outcast or untouchable what might mean within a caste system, and how that plays out socially nowadays. And I think there's also another level where we can see it where um, outcast status may be related to temporary conditions, right? Maybe you've seen that across cultures that like when someone takes up a profession or a job, or like they there's a death in the house or they attend a funeral even, there's a temporary status of impurity, both socially and spiritually, that then is remediated through either other social processes or religious ritual to bring the person back into a state of neutrality. Um, Hopefully that I'm making sense with what I'm talking about here. And it's not that it's a permanent state upon the person. Um, but I think we get into a complicated social dynamic as well when we start talking about outcast as a class, like as a social class, and all the kinds of harm that can come from that as well, especially in regards to like human rights and just from a Buddhist perspective that everyone can attain equally Buddhahood and practice equally and effectively, to the best of their ability, right, and effort and sincerity. Uh, so yeah, this particular mantra does have some layers to unpack in it. And I think when we see this outcast in Matangi, we should not demonize her. Be like, oh, she was evil. She was trying to get Ananda. Um, I think she was like a normal person. She saw a handsome monk that was refined and noble and concentrated and virtuous. And I think in the story, Ananda receives an offering from her. I think that's how they first make the contact. So here is this like very um, inspiring person, right? That is treating her very kindly, as a human being. I could see how that would feel like romantic attraction, right? Or wanting some sort of intimacy with that, wanting that in your life. So I think when we read the story of Matangi as an outcast, and her mother is like this kind of sorceress or something, it's really easy to be like good guy, bad guy, that these people have malice or some sort of creating some sort of Dharma obstacle. But I think another maybe more generous reading is that they're just like normal people, and they're in an unfortunate social system, and this is like a meeting of two aspects of society that might not normally meet, but it's through Ananda being a renunciate and doing alms rounds and meeting varieties of people equally and with an open heart. And that there is this like very deep natural response to it that becomes, romantic infatuation or desire, right? And so I think that teaching there about renunciation of desire is important, both as a renunciate practitioner specifically, but also as a lay practitioner, that when desire is coming up, uh, we have an opportunity to look at like what is behind that. What is that desire for? Is it just for sense pleasure? Is it for genuine connection? Is it for being seen? Is it for being respected, cared for? Right? There's a lot of reasons this desire can start appearing, and show us the nature of the mind. When we start investigating where that happiness, where that pleasure comes from, right? It may be coming. We might think it's coming from this other person, but when we investigate, this feeling or quality is coming from our own mind, right? The external person is a condition, one factor, right? Yes, Alvin, you raised your hand.
So I was mentioning like you are talking about desire, but it can be from pestilence. It can be seen as aversion also. Yes,
Mm,
aversion, pestilence is bad, but you should not be fearful of it. Like totally mm, a clean freak, like that is bad. Being like a bad clean freak,
right,
it will
right.
take a toll on your life.
Mm. Yeah,
So
talking about
you should
pestilence.
be,
Excuse me. Can you repeat that last part, Alvin?
yeah. I was saying that you should balance, like try to see desire, but also aversion. You should not be too afraid of desire also,
Mm,
but
mm.
understand that desire can lead to the opposite also.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a good point, right? Usually when there's aversion, there's also desire behind it, right? We want something to be a certain way, and it's not that way, right? So then we get angry, we get frustrated because there's an obstacle that we have to get rid of. Um, I think when you see the three poisons, there's a progression sometimes that it goes ignorance, desire, aversion, in terms of depth. Um, so yeah, thank you. And I think like you said, like things like the imagery of pestilence or disease and things, these are things that we want to move away from. So there can be an aversion towards anything that is connected to or adjacent to these. Um, so yeah, this mantra, yeah, there's a lot that we are talking about just about this one particular mantra. But one way to see it is that we befriend or respect these kinds of forces in a more healthy and accurate way. Uh, and so that will be recited 7 times. And that's On, if you want to repeat after me. On, Koro Koro,
Um,
Sendari,
Daddy,
Matogi,
Atari,
Soaka,
Swaga,
On,
On,
Koro Koro,
Koro Koro,
Sendari, Matogi,
Daddy Matori,
Soaka,
Swaga,
On,
um,
Koro Koro,
Koro,
Sindari Matogi,
Sundari, Matogi,
Soaka.
Waka.
Um, and then the next is Sunlight Bodhisattva and Moonlight Bodhisattva, and the general mantra of the 12 yakshas. So I've seen some other ones for Sunlight and Moonlight Bodhisattva, but these are, Sindara Harabaya Chandra Prabha, Prabha? Chandra Prabha, and Robo Juta should be, sometimes there's like a Sura Harabaya, so Surya Prabha. Um, I think Robo Juta is another Sanskrit, well, Japanese pronunciation of a Sanskrit term related to the sun, or it's like sunlight. It's just their names, basically. And the general mantra of the 12 yakshas is also their names. It's just like homage to the three jewels, and then homage to the 12 yakshas, all of their names in a Japanese pronunciation of Sanskrit, and then Soaka. And they can also be broken down into individual names, but it becomes a lot at that point. Um, excuse me. Here's another mantra, this Tathagata blazing light, blazing radiant light, Dharani for eliminating all disasters. This one it shows up in a few places. This is another Buddha with their own mandala and practice, but specifically for averting external calamities and astrological issues. So added here because of the strong astrological connections with Medicine Buddha, and also that Medicine Buddha does deal with a lot of our external conditions as well. So we, also want physical safety and peace, and what we can call secret obstacles. So things within our conditions or our environment that we're unaware of that might be interfering with study or practice. Um, such as astrological things too, stars are not in the right alignment or something. So we'll recite this 3 times as well. Yes. Hand up.
During the recitation of this particular Dharani or any of these other Bodhisattva deity mantras, is there a visualization that should be done while reciting them?
There is, it's a mandala visualization, but for the purposes of this, it's fine to just either look at an image of the Medicine Buddha or visualize like that kind of diffused, like feel that you have the presence of the Medicine Buddha in front of you, and that might be a bluish green bright light, right?
Okay.
It might be the medicine bowl. It might be his face. I think when we talked before about how to do visualization, you start general and then kind of narrow down onto one aspect, and then you can go
Yeah.
back out, right? But the important part is to have a sense, like emotional sense that the medicine Buddha is in front of you, right? And then that there's light radiating and you're being uh, purified and blessed, right? So you're having karmic obstacles diminished, and your virtues and blessings and good qualities, wholesome mind states are increasing. And you are getting the inspiration to do that yourself as well and cultivate that through your own efforts. So, at the very least, some sort of light. And if your visualization is strong, you can work more on, seeing the body of the Buddha or details, right?
Would if the visualization develops and gets strong, when you're visualizing the body of the medicine Buddha, would it be outside of yourself or visualizing yourself
No, not
becoming
no,
that?
not yourself, outside of yourself.
Okay.
You're only
Okay.
doing, just like it's very similar to the Tibetan tradition, you're only doing a self visualization in the context of like a full sadhana and an initiation. Otherwise, all
Oh,
of them outside of yourself, generally fine, right?
okay.
It just starts getting tricky when you start, people that don't know much, start visualizing themselves running around as Buddhas. And they're like, oh, I'm a Buddha now because I visualized it. It complicated, complicated.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, yeah. So we have to understand, you have to have that. It has to be combined with bodhicitta, right? Like a correct motivation and an understanding of emptiness that is accurate. Otherwise, yeah, crazy town. Um, and then I think most people, they're not going to put a lot of effort into it because they're not going to see results very quickly, and they'll probably drop it. But there are occasionally people that might go really intensely. Um, but I think for the most part, that's not the case. For the most part, the worst that happens is people do it and they get disinterested and then they give it up, which is also not great because now they kind of like, leave Buddhism because they're like, this stuff doesn't work, right? Because again, expectations and technique were not so accurate.
Okay.
So, yes, but you can, have a picture or a statue or a photo on your phone, or your computer, and visualize outside of yourself. At the end of the visualization, you can imagine the Buddha kind of going into the heart from the crown and dissolving, like becoming part of you or blessing you, but not that you're becoming the deity. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank
this
you.
is like what you see across like all the Tibetan sadhanas that are open, for example, have this um, the same kind of thing. So, but usually in the Japanese traditions, I think very rarely do they talk about visualizing for lay or open practices. They'll just tell people to recite and then like wholeheartedly, like sincerely, and think about your prayer and think about generosity, right? Um, this is generally what you will hear, something like that.
Okay.
I think we can do a little bit more than that, and do some light visualizing, but understand that that light is symbolic, of wisdom and virtues, right? And that we're wanting to increase these in ourselves or orient ourselves to a wholesome state.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would just leave it for Medicine Buddha for all of these. You can, I mean, there could be switching around to the yakshas and the sunlight and moonlight, but it's like very all complicated, and I think Medicine Buddha is fine. Um, and then after that, this is a Sakya, it's me being unorthodox, but this is a Sakya prayer. But I think it's quite nice, and we can appreciate prayers and practices from other traditions that were made by respected practitioners. So you can say this is optional. If you have another prayer that you like or your own, you want to just have good wishes, orient your mind uh, towards a purpose of your practice, that's fine. So feel free to omit this or do something else. This prayer for the quelling the fears of disease. Um, I think this is quite nice for kind of orienting ourselves in a global way, right? And just feeling that there's like this extensive, how you say, spreading our goodwill that we've developed through our practice, spreading this intention to develop our ability to be skillful in transforming our own internal poisons and our own external conditions. We're not doing that just for ourselves. We're doing that to become even more skillful at doing that for others as well. So here with this prayer, I like it because I think for me, I feel like I can really extend that to everyone that wasn't there in the practice with me, right? Like exiting in this wave, I want to bring this with me. But like I said, if there's something else that really resonates for you, you can swap it out. But this is my addition, so it's not standard. And then the dedication and the merits is a little different, and it's just more focused on the medicine Buddha to be born in the crystal radiance Pure Land. This can also be at Amitabha's Pure Land because in the Medicine Buddha Sutra, if you do 8 precepts for a certain amount of time or recite the Medicine Buddha's name, it can be a cause for rebirth in Sukhavati, Amitabha's Pure Land. So that's why we see that connection between Medicine Buddha and Amitabha as well. So If you're very much oriented towards Amitabha Buddha practice, then you can make that aspiration to be born in Sukhavati, not Medicine Buddhist Pure Land. But here it is for that. So Medicine Buddha Pure Land is an option some people like, but has a little bit different requirement. I say it's a bit harder. There is also a debate that the Medicine Buddha, the rebirth in his Pure Land and the practice was not for the Dharma ending age, not for our time, but for the period before our time. That it was only valid up until then, and that's from a line in the sutra talking about, in the Dharma semblance age, I think. Uh, so for our time, Amitabha Buddha is more suitable. Yes, Shojin.
Did I saw the hand? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to turn that off.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then the 7 universal precepts. 7 Buddhas, universal precepts. Yeah, any questions or comments?
You had mentioned that Medicine Buddha is more designed for, or intended. Would that be like pre-Kali Yuga, I'd imagine?
Yeah, that was what one of the arguments I've heard. For rebirth in his Pure Land. Not necessarily for his practice, but for rebirth in his Pure Land.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we're in, the Dharma Dark Ages, wouldn't it be beneficial to have the aspiration for Medicine Buddha for what his what he symbolizes and what he offers, like through his practice and his teachings, like especially in this era. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in my own ignorance, but it feels like that would be just as valid as Amitabha, wouldn't it?
No, it's how do I say, the practice is fine. It's the rebirth in his Pure Land.
Why that distinction?
Because the different Pure Lands have different requirements. I think for the Medicine Buddha one, you have to have developed ethics to certain level, in order to be reborn there. So that's hard for us to achieve now. Is what's being said, and that it's much more. Um, you get a broader and more effective benefit, I guess, or access. You help more people, through promoting Amitabha Pure Land, because the barrier or the threshold for entry is much lower.
Whereas for Medicine Buddha, it's probably like higher realizations of bodhisattvas, like during previous eras, that would meet those requirements
It's
better.
ethical practice in this
Yeah,
lifetime. And if you can't achieve that, then it's hard. It's not as easy.
I see.
And Amitabha's Pure Land doesn't require difficult practices. It only requires the aspiration, the recitation, and the faith, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But like, for example, there's an Akshobhya Pure Land, but you have to eradicate anger. So if you don't do that, you're not going there. So, if you're going to spend your time and effort, go to the one that's guaranteed rather than the one that may or may not be, because you're spending your life doing these practices. It's not that what you did is not beneficial, but if you're wanting to guarantee your rebirth in the Pure Land, then it's better to do the one that you have a guarantee, right? And so Amitabha's is the guarantee. And our time now, it's the hardest time to actually cultivate these practices. But then there's a debate whether or not we're actually in the Dharma ending age, or is this a state of mind, right? So
Right.
yeah,
But there's still just the element of like work smarter, not harder, I
right.
guess, in this sense.
Yeah, basically you could summarize it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes, Alvin.
So it's not like impossible also because the Milarepa was reborn in Abhirati. So it's definitely possible, but it's not, what do I say, encouraged
Yeah,
nowadays.
it's not
It's
impossible.
not
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, you can. It's just how do you say that the matter is like more people. Let's say more people could have done it in the past in a different age than they could now, right? And due to that, it wouldn't it be better to focus on the one that everyone can do? Does that make sense?
Perfect sense for me.
Yeah, yeah. There's also like Maitreya Pure Land, many comes and goes in interest, but even there's recent masters that really want to go to Maitreya's Pure Land. I'm not familiar what the kind of teaching requirement, like what the criteria are. What's been pointed
I
out, if you go to Amitabha's Pure Land, it said before lunch, everyone, like all the bodhisattvas, like travel great distances to other Pure Lands to study with other Buddhas, and then they come back and they have lunch. Um, don't think like, oh, well, if I go to Amitabha Pure Land, then I can't. I love Medicine Buddha, but I want to study with Medicine Buddha, or have that connection. But I guess I just have to settle for Amitabha. But it's not like that. It's you can study with many Buddhists. So why not go to the one there, and then you can cultivate and go to the other one, and study there too. Um, and you're in
I had
a
a
better conditions. Yeah.
I had a quick question, just on the topic of Pure Lands in general, not specific to Medicine Buddha. And if it's too off base, please just interrupt me. But um, I've heard two conflicting kind of theories or stories about Avalokiteshvara's Pure Land. That it literally resides within the Sakya world, but it also, like, she also occupies Amitabha's Pure Land. Um, that's something that, if you have a moment to kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, explain, that would be awesome.
That gets into like the funny cosmology stuff of Buddhism. I've heard similar and different. I've heard similar different things. So Avalokiteshvara is a student of Amitabha Buddha, right? And
Yeah.
Amitabha Buddha has a Pure Land, Sukhavati, where you can find Avalokiteshvara. Also, Avalokiteshvara is a Buddha, right, in the past that is manifesting as a Bodhisattva. So we could say that there is a Avalokiteshvara Buddha Pure Land, but maybe that's not talked about or discussed um, due to whatever reason, in the wisdom of the Buddhas, that we should aspire instead for Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. And there was also the part that, when Amitabha Buddha passes into parinirvana, uh, Avalokiteshvara is the next to take over Sukhavati and be the teacher there. And then after Avalokiteshvara passes it on to Mahastama Prapta Bodhisattva. And then after him, then that Pure Land will not be there. It will be like another Pure Land, or the world's changed.
That makes sense. Would it be
So
like, if it were from the viewpoint of Avalokiteshvara's Pure Land being in our current, like, reality, the Sakya world, being, I
Sahava.
guess, whoever's like the current emanation of Avalokiteshvara that's like recognized as such, like, which I think is sometimes viewed as like His Holiness the 14th.
So it's Saha world, by the way.
Sorry,
No,
Saha. Yeah.
that's fine.
Mhm.
Shakya is a Buddha. Um, yeah. I mean, yeah, they say there's a place like, Maitreya's Pure Land is not a Pure Land. It's like like a kind of undefiled or like purified place within the heavens, within Chishita heaven. It's like a palace. It's like a special space, right? Where he's a bodhisattva, and it's in a realm. It's in the samsaric realm, but it's unaffected. I don't know if that's the same case with Avalokiteshvara has like a what's it called?
Like a bubbly universe.
It's like the mountain of flower. It's like has a name, like about white
Okay.
flowers. Yeah, like something like that. But that's some sort of, I think, cosmic time space speculation stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
I think
probably
that's
not
why you
super
get
relevant.
different ones. When we're talking about the Dalai Lama being Avalokiteshvara, yeah, that's a thing that people say that have faith in him, that he is Avalokiteshvara to them, not that he is literally. literally, Avalokiteshvara to everyone, and that is like a fact. For example, we'll say that Tiantai Master Yi was the second Buddha, right? Or
Mm.
Nagarjuna was the second Buddha, or Lama Tsongkhapa was the second Buddha,
Or
right?
Garchen Rinpoche is White Tara.
Right. All people say all these things. Elder Snow Hat, Li Bingnan was Sitagrappa Bodhisattva. Master Ingguang, Mahasama Prapta Bodhisattva, or Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. People said. Followers say these things, meaning that for them in their mind, this practitioner, they regard them as if they were this Buddha. And they
I
might in their
see.
mind see this literally, like this person, my faith is so deep that I truly believe, and I see this through their actions and their deeds, that this person is a manifestation of,
So there's an element of like guru yoga
yeah,
there.
yeah, definitely. It is.
Okay.
It's a guru yoga. I think what happens then is we hear it, and then well, there's a spectrum of how people relate to this, right? Um, for you, let's say you see X person as X Buddha Bodhisattva, and then you repeat this, and then other people are like, oh, so that person is, right? And it becomes treated as a fact. And that's fine. I think then when we start demanding that other people see our teacher uh, or our inspiring figures as a certain Buddha or Bodhisattva, that becomes a bit problematic. Because for example, the Dalai Lama is not seen as Avalokiteshvara by like non-Tibetan Buddhists. You know, they don't hold him in the same regard. They might think he's a very nice guy and he's very learned and has done a lot of work and very respectable.
Or even Tibetan Buddhist out of his own lineage, like outside
Right,
of his own lineage.
right. And so yeah, just be aware of that. That what we're saying, when we're saying that, what do we mean, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
uh,
you. I appreciate that.
yeah, uh, yeah. Otherwise, I think when people get super literal, they're like, no, he is Avalokiteshvara. And like, if you say otherwise, I'm going to get upset, like, if you don't accept that, then you're deluded and ignorant. Well, that's weird. It's more that, that seeing the teacher or the guru, as like, or equal to, or as, right? Depending which framework you want to use. That's for you. That's for you. That's for your own mind.
Okay.
Right? That's not for everyone else's mind. Um, yeah. So, like, yeah, I think Teacher Tong has brought up Elder Snow Hut. There was someone that said, oh, he said something at some point, but that he's like a Sitagrabha Bodhisattva. Um, but not everyone will see that. Some people will be like, oh, he's a terrible guy, or he was a great guy, or he was just an ordinary guy, or he was like a good lay Buddhist teacher, But for Teacher Tong and for some others, he was Sitagrabha Bodhisattva, right? And so they respected him that way. And so they got the benefit then of having Sitagrabha Bodhisattva in front of them, right? Because they had that kind of perception. So they received that kind of benefit and that kind of relationship. This is why we talk to in the Lotus Sutra, the never disparaging bodhisattva that goes around and says everyone will become a Buddha. And he sees everyone as a Buddha. So he gets the benefit of being in a world full of Buddhas, right? you know, like talk about making merit. Everyone is a teacher. Everyone you are giving honor and reverence to. Of course, your mind will benefit. Your virtues will increase because your attitude, your mindset, your perception has changed.
Oh yeah, it's a great method of like developing loving kindness and compassion if you view all sentient beings as also Buddha.
Yeah. And why too, when we're doing puja, this is a practice of that, right? We're inviting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right, in, and we are performing offerings, right, in many ways. In the whole framework and the whole setting, we are practicing and refining our ways of having relationships with environment, with each other, with teachers, with our body, with our speech, all of these to help change our mind. So it's this container for rehearsal and transformation. And then when we go out after it, we should be like, oh, this beautiful energy that I've cultivated, this time, this time I've set aside to focus and be supported by the people around me to cultivate certain wholesome mental states. How do I put them into practice out in my day now, right? How do I bring that into the world and try to see the world in a new or different way? I'm not energized by this group practice. That's the important part. Otherwise, we just go, we're like, oh, my ordinary life, and then now I went to a puja and I'm gonna get some blessings because I made a bunch of offerings, and like there's this transaction between me and the Buddhas, and they're gonna give me this because I gave them that, and then I leave, and then I just wait for the blessings to roll in, because I did the thing. Uh, you know, uh, yeah, I don't think that's really a sustainable practice. I don't think that is really what's being pointed towards. But so yeah, my piece on it. So I'm gonna stop recording. Thank you.